Welcome back to Football Daily. Ahead of the closure of the transfer window, we're looking at some of the worst deadline day deals, and we've added in some shockers from this summer too. 10. Andre Ayew to Swansea. In the summer of 2015, Andre Ayew joined Swansea on a free transfer. Netting 3 in his first 3 games, he was voted Player of the Month in his first 30 days in Wales. During his debut season with the Swans, he notched up 34 appearances and 12 goals before joining West Ham for £20 million. Swansea City should have ended it there. Instead, they brought the forward back for the same price on deadline day in January 2018 to get rid of any chance of a tidy piece of business, making him one of the highest paid players in their squad. Unlike his fast start in 2015, a bleak 6 months ended in relegation for the Swans, and the Ghanaian, who had racked up just 12 appearances and 0 goals, was booking flights out of the UK quicker than he'd escaped East London. Unable to offload him permanently, Graham Potter's side have had to settle for a loan deal with Fenerbahce. And swapping the championship for the Turkish top flight, Ayew's form has miraculously recovered, scoring 4 in 16 Super League starts. 9. Benjani to Man City. Pep Guardiola's Man City side are currently averaging 2.7 goals a game in the Premier League, with over 100 scored in all competitions. But back in 2008, the likes of Sergio Aguero and Kevin De Bruyne weren't leading their attack. Instead, Sven-Göran Eriksson was poaching Portsmouth players as Pompey attempted to fund a move for Jermaine Defoe. Maybe Benjani had seen into the future, because reports circulated that he was so reluctant to switch Fratton Park for the Etihad that he missed 2 successive flights to Manchester. He didn't arrive until 11 PM, which delayed his signing until the 5th of February, when he signed a 2.5-year deal for just under £4 million. Life in Manchester started off well, scoring on his debut against Man United. However, the Zimbabwe international went on to score only 4 goals for the Sky Blues over 2 years. Clearly the breakup was mutual, as a loan spell in Sunderland ended with City letting him go in 2010. Benjani later revealed that his move was an unwelcome shock, and luckily for the striker, he was back on the South Coast in 2011. 8. Alexander Sørloth to Crystal Palace. When Alexander Sørloth signed for Crystal Palace on the January deadline day in 2018, fans of the Eagles anticipated the long-awaited arrival of an effective goalscorer in South London. Connor Wickham had been out for over a year with injury, and Christian Benteke had seemingly lost his ability to hit the net. And so Sørloth, a towering Norwegian striker coming in off the back of a killer half-season with Midtjylland in the Danish Superliga, was expected to get the club firing again and take some of the burden off Wilf Zaha. But the 22-year-old was thrown in at the deep end, with his first 4 games for the club coming against Everton, Tottenham, Man United and Chelsea. Not ideal for a man with minimal top-level experience. To be fair to Sørloth, he started all 4 games and played the full 90, but Palace also lost them all, and Hodgson subsequently dropped the man he'd spent £9 million on just a month previously. Sørloth didn't feature again for Palace that season, and it hasn't got much better since. With Hodgson favouring a front 2 of Zaha and Townsend, Sørloth has been limited to cameos off the bench in 18-19. He's still yet to contribute a goal or an assist in the Prem. And for context, captain Milivojevic has 13 combined goals and assists since Sørloth's arrival at Selhurst Park. Come January 2019, the club took the sensible decision to loan him out to Ghent, and he's already got his first goal for the club. 7. Danny Drinkwater to Chelsea. One of the few summer transfers on this list, Danny Drinkwater to Chelsea was just too outrageous to ignore. Premier League champions at the time, the Blues were expected to negotiate from a position of strength in the summer of 2017. But instead ended up leaving a great deal of their business until the last minute. And with the likes of John Terry, Dom Solanke and Ruben Loftus-Cheek all leaving West London on permanent or loans, the club were left with a race against time to refill their homegrown quota. Hence the ridiculous £35 million move for Danny Drinkwater, a fine if pretty average Premier League midfielder who, at 27 years of age, offered the club little to no resale value. The move only came after their failed pursuit of Ross Barkley, which allegedly fell through when Barkley decided against the move after completing his medical. Drinkwater made just 12 Premier League appearances in his first season at the club, and after Sarri's arrival has been ousted from the side completely. However, he's claimed to be happy at the club, and it's no wonder considering he's been paid £100,000 a week to do nothing. The only thing worse than this move was Zach Jalab's promise to eat a sock if it happened. He ended up going back on it and drinking a milkshake through one instead. Boring. 6. Juan Cuadrado to Chelsea. Usually criticised for selling their best players too soon, it was actually a €20 million arrival that ended in disaster for Chelsea back in 2015. The signing of Juan Cuadrado was an exciting prospect for Premier League spectators after his impressive displays at Fiorentina caught attention. Over the 13-14 season in Florence, the Colombian had scored 11 and assisted 5, averaged 2 key passes and 7 dribbles per 90. While it looked like an exciting acquisition at the time, in order to secure the deal, Chelsea let Mohamed Salah go the other way on loan. A a decision that has us questioning the Blues' recruitment policy. Cuadrado's spell in West London failed to replicate his Serie A form. In 12 Premier League appearances, he averaged 1.5 key passes and attempted just 1.2 dribbles per 90. Scored and assisted a sum total of 0. Just 6 months after his arrival, he was back in Italy playing for Juventus, where he joined permanently in 2017. However, his game time at the Old Lady has been irregular, racking up just 20 starts once in his Juve career. And in 2018, he was forced to hand over his number 7 jersey when Cristiano Ronaldo rocked up in Turin. 5. Javier Mascherano to West Ham. The shady signing of Javier Mascherano and Carlos Tevez to West Ham in 2006 was shrouded in controversy, as the Hammers were reprimanded for their involvement of third-party ownership. From the players' perspectives, out of their stints in East London, Tevez's was far more successful. Despite a rocky start, Tevez stayed put for the season and went on to score 7 in 26 to keep West Ham in the Premier League. However, his fellow Argentine didn't push past their terrible start, and we really don't blame him. The summer window had seen the Corinthians midfielder linked to the likes of Barcelona and Real Madrid, making his unveiling at Upton Park slightly underwhelming. Upon his arrival, West Ham went into freefall, losing in 8 consecutive games in all competitions between August and January. The future Barcelona star appeared just 5 times. Luckily, his dodgy deal in London was over by January when he was snapped up by Rafa Benitez in Liverpool, where his illustrious career really kicked off. 4. Hossam Ghaly. When central midfielder Hossam Ghaly arrived at White Hart Lane on the January deadline in 2006, the move was already considered a triumph. The 24-year-old Egyptian had attracted attention from North London rivals Arsenal, a far more desirable club at the time, and was admired as a tenacious central midfielder. But with the likes of Edgar Davids and Michael Carrick occupying the Spurs midfield at the time, and Danny Murphy signing from Charlton on the same day, Ghaly had to wait until the following season to break into the Lily-White squad. He started well enough, making his full debut in a narrow loss to Ferguson's Man United, before scoring on his first start in the UEFA Cup against Besiktas. However, he soon became frustrated with being played out of position by manager Martin Jol, and it all boiled over in a game against Blackburn at the end of the season. Ghaly was brought on to replace an injured Steve Bronk and was brought back off after a dismal 30 minutes, and reacted by throwing his shirt on the ground in anger. His relationship with the Spurs management and support ended there, and the club spent the next 7 months desperately trying to get rid of him. The former Feyenoord man initially signed for Birmingham, but the club called off the move after he criticised Steve Bruce's training methods, and he was eventually loaned to Derby County the following January, where he had the pleasure of turning out for the worst team in Premier League history, failing to win a single game in which he featured. 3. Kostas Mitroglou to Fulham. Dimitar Berbatov ended his tour of England that had seen him play for both Spurs and Man United, scoring a goal every other game for Fulham. When he left for Monaco on deadline day in 2014, the hunt for his replacement ended in the signing of Olympiacos striker Kostas Mitroglou. The Greek forward became the Cottagers' record ever signing, costing £12.4 million, as a prolific marksman was expected to score enough to keep Fulham's Premier League status. That's not quite what happened though. Despite scoring 14 goals in the first few months of the Greek Super League, a lack of fitness meant he wasn't up to the Prem. Making just 3 appearances, one of those a start, he cost the side £99,000 per minute he played. As if celebrating Fulham's relegation into the Championship after 14 years in the English top flight wasn't tragic enough, Mitroglou was voted by the Craven Cottage faithful as Fulham's worst ever signing. 2. Afonso Alves to Middlesbrough. Back in 2008, Middlesbrough fans couldn't believe it when the January transfer window came to a close and they had signed a Brazilian striker who had scored 45 in 38 appearances. Afonso Alves had been prolific in the Eredivisie for Heerenveen, who had scouted him to replace their starman Huntelaar after 5 seasons as a consistent goalscorer in Sweden. 34 goals in his debut season in the Netherlands, including 5 hat-tricks and hype around the Brazilian Gru, coined as the next Romario. Not quite the journey from PSV to Barcelona taken by the World Cup winner, Alves swapped the Eredivisie for Middlesbrough, where the differences between him and the legend became clear. Their record signing scored just 10 goals in 42 appearances, but 30% of them came in one game versus a very weak Man City side. And 16 months after his arrival, Gareth Southgate's Borough were relegated, with Afonso Alves as the scapegoat. 1. Radamel Falcao to Man United. Man United had a point to prove in the summer of 2014. They had just come off a disastrous Premier League campaign under David Moyes, and had hired Louis van Gaal despite the Dutch manager having won just 3 pieces of silverware since the 90s. And they were equally ballsy in the transfer market, spending big on the likes of Daley Blind, Marcus Rojo, Ander Herrera and Luke Shaw, and breaking their transfer record to land Angel Di Maria, who had been man of the match in the Champions League final just 2 months earlier. The final piece of the puzzle was Radamel Falcao, who was fresh off a 6-month injury layoff. He was brought in from Monaco after the sale of Danny Welbeck to Arsenal and the loan of Chicharito to Real Madrid, with the Red Devils paying a loan fee of £6.8 million to land El Tigre. During his time at Old Trafford, the Colombian also received wages of £265,000 a week, meaning the transfer cost the club nearly £16 million in total. Falcao never looked like the monster who had been reared at Porto and Atleti, scoring just 4 goals in over 1,500 minutes. That meant United paid £4 million for each goal he scored. Tragic. So I hope you enjoyed that video, guys. Let me know what you thought in the comments down below, and make sure you like the video, subscribe to the channel and hit that notification bell so you never miss one when we produce it. See you next time, guys.